This is Rey's lightsaber from episode 9. This is actually the first time I've gotten to work on a Graflex, the episode 9 Graflex that Rey uses. And I actually got to make this for a customer that I've made a lightsaber for in the past, so that's pretty cool. And this was a pretty easy project. He sent me the hilt and all the parts as well, and he just wanted a basic Proffie NeoPixel install, which is what I gave him. Before I show this off to you guys, I just want to quickly say, feel free to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, or if you want to see really cool lightsaber builds that I have coming up. And also, if you guys are interested in commissioning a lightsaber like this from me, you can contact me on my new website, averycastillo.com. I also have some pre-made lightsabers there and some empty hilts that you can buy, and if you do end up buying something from there, I just want to say thank you, and it does help me and this channel out a lot. And now with all that out of the way, let's check out the lightsaber. So as far as I know, this lightsaber is an 89 Sabers Graflex, and it's converted to the episode 9 version of the Graflex with the KR Sabers conversion kit. At least that's what I was told by the customer who sent this to me. He didn't just send me the hilt, he also sent me the chassis and all the electronic parts to install inside this hilt, which always makes everything way more easy and straightforward for my installs. And I absolutely love it. Anyways, let's get right into it. Let's take a quick look at the hilt itself, just so you can get an idea of what we're working with here. This is a Graflex top, Graflex bottom, but of course the 89 Sabers version, so it's not completely accurate to a or close to accurate to a vintage or to a, what do you call it, a replica of a vintage. I actually think I might have put this section on incorrectly, but I'll go over that in a second. But you can see the damage from episode 7 that she repaired with, I guess this is leather and the grip section. It's pretty neat. Down here we don't have a D-ring anymore, but this is just a covered bottom section with some sound venting holes in the sides. You attach it to your belt with this little clip that's hidden in the grips, which is cool. And the buttons are the red button and the slide switch, not the control box. I'm going to show you how to access the hilts because there's a couple different things that you probably should keep in mind, or to access the inside. You can open it up just like a normal Graflex by turning it, but this is if you don't have it tightened, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in a bit. And then you just pull on it to take it out, and that there is the Graflex J-lock system. And as you can see here, it does have some scratches from the holding system that's on the inside. This here is how you can retain it better. These are retention screws to hold it in place, because otherwise this thing is just super loose. It'll just wobble. You can kind of hear that. So without it being tightened down by this set screw, it'll just wobble like that, and you don't really want that to happen. So you're going to need to do that. Just remember when you do undo it that it is being held on by the retention screw. There we go. So you just take it out like that, and you have access to the inside. Now you don't need to do that with the upper section, so you don't ever really need to loosen the top one, but you can, and I will show you that really quickly. You just loosen it up, and then do the same J-lock system as taking off the bottom, and there you go. So here we have the chassis. It is permanently affixed in here. I didn't have any retention screws to hold the chassis in place through here, plus this looks pretty worn out on the inside. None of mine fit, and it's a very small thing, so you need a very tiny set screw in order to make it fit. But I used E6000 to secure the entire, I guess, neck section of the chassis into this section, so it's held on really tightly. But if you ever do need to remove it, you can just twist on it a bunch and then it'll come undone. But otherwise it's really tight, really snug. It's not going anywhere. And that rattling you hear is just the bunny ears. And the slide switch. What else to say about this? Yeah, you can add a set screw if you do happen to have one or find one, but make sure it doesn't stick out above the threads, or else you won't be able to, well, you might actually be able to still put this on now that I think about it, because there's a pretty decent amount of space. But you'll need to find a set screw that still works. Not that you'll really need one, but hey, if you want extra security on the chassis, you can always find one and put one in there. This is operated with a 18650 lithium-ion battery, running a Proffie v3.9, and a 28mm bass speaker. So let me put this back on. When you do put it on, you'll want to sort of align the tabs correctly, wherever that may be. There we go. And then put it on like that and make sure it lines up with the damage on the top portion of the Graflex. Something like that, I think, is perfect. And then we'll just tighten the top. And then you never really need to untighten it because there's really no reason that you'll want to remove it. There you go. It's nice and tight now, not moving. And then we'll put this back on in a second. You really don't need to see the inner chassis working, so I'll turn it on here, just using the slide switch.
Long have I waited.
Looks like I had it in sleep mode for my intro and whatnot, so it was already on. So yeah, I just cycled the power, turned it on. It has the boot sound for the font. I was sent a bunch of fonts to install on this. I believe they're all Kyberphonic fonts. Hold on, let me think about where this is aligned. Right about there, it looks like. There we go. And then once that's in, if you don't want to be removing this a bunch, you just undo that and then tighten that, but I won't do it right now because there's really no need for me to do so. But you tighten that bottom one in order to make this not wobble. Now this is installed with a lot of sound fonts. There's like the TFA sound font from Kyberphonic. They're all from Kyberphonic. So the Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker, all 3 sets of fonts and all their variations are in here. So there's like maybe 9-ish. We'll see when I cycle through the fonts. But yeah, I'll just get right into it. This is the set screw, the blade retention screw. You'll need to have a flathead screwdriver in order to undo it. When you have a blade in there, it will stick out a little bit because the screw's a bit long. If you do want to reduce that, you could either sand the screw down on its own. I would be careful if you sand it down though, because depending on how much you sand it, you could potentially accidentally sand it too much so it doesn't put any pressure on the blade. So I'm just leaving it like this, and if you do want to sand it down, you can. Otherwise, just leave it as it is. Plus, it kind of depends on the diameter of each individual blade, because sometimes they can vary ever so slightly. So it takes a 1-inch blade. You could either pinch the ears to make your bunny ears go wider, or you could just leave it as it is and just put in the blade. I have too much stuff on my desk, it's hard for me to do this. Pinch bunny ears, slide it in, and then there you go. Then you just tighten the blade retention screw. It's hard to do it like this on camera, it's always difficult. There you go. It's nice and tight there, and as you can see, it does stick out ever so slightly. And let's turn it on and I'll show you some of the cool features. As you can see, it has a shine-through glass eye. The red button is the activation, and the slide button is the auxiliary. I set it up with the vocal menu. I only know like 2 commands with the vocal menu so far though. One is the battery level indicator and one is the volume. I guess just setting of volume. You can hold down the power button and the auxiliary at the same time.
Enter volume menu.
Well, if you start with the power button and then you hold that and then click the auxiliary, it goes into the volume menu. And then you just rotate it. There we go. Yeah, you just rotate. It goes quieter.
Maximum volume.
I'll just knock it down a couple notches here.
Volume menu end.
Then you select it by pressing either one, I think, and then you can go the opposite way with the auxiliary and then tap the power button.
Battery level 96%.
And it tells you the battery level, which is really neat. So let me just cycle through the fonts here. And then that'll pretty much be it for this. You don't really need to keep too much in mind. I did mention that I might have put this on backwards a little bit, and I'll show you that at the very end if I remember. And if not, I will record a separate thing. So I started with The Rise of Skywalker, then went to The Last Jedi, then went to The Force Awakens in the order that I put it in the config file. So that's just how it is, and I wish I could put it like this, but there we go. This is easier for me to access the, auxiliary button.
I'm Rey. Something inside me has always been there, but now it's awake.
I'm going to raise the volume a bit.
Enter volume menu. Volume menu end.
There we go.
Gray. Master Luke. Young Rey.
I think it's now a bit too loud, so let's adjust it again.
Enter volume menu. Volume menu end.
There we go. And it's super, super easy to change the volume, which I absolutely love.
Come get it.
And we are on The Force Awakens now.
I'm never touching that thing again.
I need a weapon.
You have one!
Come get it.
Red.
And now we're on to my standard fonts that I set up with all of the lightsabers that I install. So I'll just quickly cycle through this as well.
Purple.
And then once again,
Enter volume menu.
changing the volume because I don't want to
Volume
overwhelm
menu end.
my editing, because I have to lower the volume in order to make it not peak all the time.
Yellow. White. Blue. Green.
And then you'll see that some of these have the post-off effect, sort of a cooldown effect. It's not on all of them.
Lack of faith disturbing.
And with my standard package of fonts, I try to show off as many blade styles as I can, while still making sense with the font, to a degree.
Smooth fuzz.
And the obligatory rainbow one.
I'm all the Jedi.
And we're back to the beginning. The only other thing I think I'll show off, because I always forget about it, is color change. So you do the other way around. So hold auxiliary and then tap power. And then you just rotate it until you find your desired color, and then you just press one of the buttons again. I think there might be another method, but that's the one that I remember off the top of my head right now. Let's move it back to blue real quick. And that's it. I think that's everything except this thing. So let me take the blade out and then I'll go over that real quick. Because the way it should be is not the way that I set it up. There we go. Just slowly tightening it, just so that the screwdriver doesn't slip and accidentally scratch the surface finish. So this little beer tab notch holder section, you see how it's got, how I have it set it up with two of the little washers in a row. That's not how it should be. You should have the one of the washers underneath the beer tab. So you can quickly and easily correct that by unscrewing the red button and then just moving the beer tab to the side, being careful you don't move it all the way down, because sometimes if you move it all the way down, you can cause some scratches. You'll see with some vintages, that they have those scratches for when the operator unscrewed the button and then just swung it. And on the inside you can see the red button PCB, which is pretty neat. So you just unscrew it, because it's pretty easy to unscrew. Take the washer, and then we'll just arrange this how it should be. There we go. So it should be sandwiched in between them. The beer tab should be sandwiched between the two washers. Or, well, the one washer and then the screw head. So we will put that back on. And then we screw in the red button, which can be a bit tricky sometimes because you got to screw it past the beer tab as well. There we go. Perfect. That's how it should be. There we go. That's the correct orientation for a Graflex lightsaber, and just Graflexes in general. And that should be all I need to say about this lightsaber. Maybe one last thing, I do have all the fonts you sent me in the config file. And you'll find the config file, of course, inside the SD card. You can access the SD card with some tweezers. With this chassis, it's a little bit annoying, because if you do try and use some tweezers, it can be a bit tricky because there's so much space underneath the soundboard. It's easy to lose it, or putting the SD card back into the soundboard, it can be kind of tricky to figure out where the SD card slot is. The board is being held down by a couple dabs of Loctite here and here. It should be easy to take out if you ever need to, but it's locked in place so it doesn't accidentally pop out otherwise. And that should be it. So yeah, you can use some tweezers, just pinch it, then wiggle it slowly until you take it out. I won't show it to you exactly right now because it can be a bit tricky, especially on camera, but that's how you do it. And then you can just use a 90-degree angle micro USB to access the USB port and connect it to your computer. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact me. And I do have all the resources you need, or I believe you need, to customize your lightsaber down in the description of this video, so go ahead and check that out if you want to. But yeah, that should be it. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed checking out this Rey Graflex lightsaber from episode 9. And thank you to the customer who commissioned this from me. Thank you for trusting me with yet another one of your lightsabers. It's always a pleasure to work on lightsabers for repeat customers, and I really hope you enjoyed this lightsaber just as much as the last one. And before I go, I just want to remind you guys that if you do want to commission a lightsaber build like this from me, you can contact me on my website, averycastillo.com. And that will be all for the video. See you guys next time.